You know our next guest, if you're on TikTok, if you're on Twitter, if you're on the social media, extremely funny and sharp and smart up and coming content creator who we are going to interview in long form on our show on March 9th. We had to push that back a week it was my fault, not theirs. But you all know Blakeley. Blakeley, how are you?
Hello, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. I can hear you great. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, you've been talking quite a bit, about not only obviously the genocide in Gaza, but of course, Elon and DOGE. You're a streamer, recently screwed over by YouTube, which we're going to talk all about in a couple weeks. I don't want to talk too much about it now, only because we have other channels streaming this, and I don't want to get our friends in trouble either. So that would be a big problem for me. Even like if our channel tanks and I get sued by all the people who who decided to stream this with us. But we are going to talk all about that because it's terrible. The censorship out there is absolutely awful, and we are going to have you on to feature for that. But we have 1,800 people watching on Rumble now, and Blakeley's got a Rumble channel, so go over and follow that. What's your Rumble channel?
Yes, please do. Thank you. My Rumble channel is at I am Blakeley, so it's the same handle as you can see here. And yeah, shout out to you, Keaton, for helping me set it up.
Of course, yeah. It's not the easiest thing, but once you do it, you got a hang of it. It seemed to work pretty good. I think you had your debut Rumble stream on Thursday?
Yeah. It was fun too, because then I did figure out how to stop the YouTube and then continue on Rumble to do the last half hour, 40 minutes of the stream on Rumble.
Cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, I don't know if you've been watching any of this conference, how familiar you are with any of these players. I don't know who you voted for in the last cycle. I'm assuming it was probably Jill Stein, if at all. Do I have that right? Did I guess right?
No, I'm not really a huge fan of the Green Party for a lot of reasons.
Okay. Yeah.
I voted for Claudia De La Cruz, who's with
Okay.
this
PSL. Okay. All right. So similar anti-genocide vote. That's the main thing, obviously.
For sure. Yeah. Like I wasn't gonna. Yeah, I wasn't gonna vote for either of the genocide candidates.
Right. Exactly. So this is a more a labor-based organizing conference, but obviously, Gaza is a huge component of this as well, as I think it should be. And so, what are your thoughts on I don't know if you've watched any of this today, or how familiar you are with the organization, but just general left building after it during Trump's second term. What are some of your thoughts about that, kind of just from a strategic standpoint? Because obviously you're not a duopoly voter, which is more what I was asking. I forgot that obviously PSL wasn't on the ballot. You had to write them in, right? None of the third parties made the ballot in New York.
Right. None of them did. So I did write them in. And it's not like I was like so opposed to ever voting for a Green Party candidate. I just didn't want to this time. But it doesn't mean that I would never, in the same way that, haven't been ever opposed to voting for Democrats. Like I voted, which now I feel terrible about. I voted for Joe Biden in 2020 just because I was furious about Bernie. I was a Bernie person. I felt like they cheated Bernie. But I voted for Joe Biden just honestly because I was so tired of Trump. I was exhausted. I was exhausted by his administration. I wanted him out. I thought he did a terrible job handling COVID. But then obviously I didn't know that Joe Biden was a psychotic Zionist, like at the time that I voted for him, because I think like a lot of Americans, I was very like America-centric. I didn't really think about foreign policy or anything that was really happening outside of our borders. And but now, so it's not like I'm fully opposed to ever voting for anybody, but I will not, because of the genocide, and because not just the genocide, but because of what the Democrats have done. I am so fucking tired of them. I will not vote for another Democrat at the federal level again, unless and until that party were to be burned to the goddamn ground and they were to rebuild the entire thing and create something completely different. As it is constituted right now, I will not vote for one at the federal level. So I not only didn't vote for Kamala Harris, I didn't vote for Senator Gillibrand. I didn't vote for Chuck Schumer's, croak ass, like I didn't vote for
Right.
my congressperson. None of them. Because here's the thing, going to what you're saying, I'm actually not that familiar with this conference. So I'm going to go back and watch some of it after.
Sure.
I would like to be, because I think that a building on the left is so incredibly important during this time. And not enough people are doing it. And what is making me insane and upsetting me is that I already see people who are on the left starting to get pulled back into the Democratic Party. Bernie's on this tour now, being like, oh, you know, we got to take on the oligarchs. And it's like, no. I'm not getting sucked into that again. I'm not getting sucked into that again, because that's what Bernie did last time. Sucked us in, or people like me in, and then turned around and was like, and now we have to support Genocide Joe.
Right.
Absolutely not. The Democratic Party, as it stands right now, is an impediment and a danger to any kind of left building and movement in this country. And so I think now I'm kind of forgetting, sorry, because I've went on a tangent what your question was. But as far as like a left building, actually, I think it's so incredibly important, regardless of whether or not you're a non-voter, whether you're a communist, a socialist, somebody who just doesn't like either party, or even somebody who was previously a liberal. It's so important because you hear a lot of people talk about organizing or talk about building, but then they're never actually doing it. They're never actually there. And so I think it's great that they're doing this. And I agree that I think that putting some of the building blocks, in my view, I think actually it would be great if we had a totally separate party, like a totally separate party that was like outside of a lot of what the existing structure is offering us. But as far as when it comes to like actually like building any kind of coalition around fighting back against basically this like deranged, psychotic, tech feudalist imperialism that we're dealing with is very good and very important. And the Democrats are going to try to hijack any energy from anybody on the left and shuffle it into their project.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bernie's his whole tour, I believe, in Nebraska, which he had a big crowd last night because, you know, now that Trump is in office, people are eager to, you know, come out and, you know, look for some sign of life on the Democratic side. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, basically, his big quote was, well, it's their government, so what can we do? So next to that, you know, Bernie getting on the ground looked good to a lot of Dems who came out. And so, you know, he's doing fairly good numbers again, apparently. I thought, you know, his best days were behind him rally-wise, and they probably are. But you are seeing more life there than you are, you know, from, you know, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. But very importantly, you know, he's touring swing districts, you know, and that's a tell right there that it is ultimately, of course, going to be a sheep herding operation, you know, back into the Democratic Party. And it's absolutely imperative that people not get sucked in, because given the, you know, leadership style and the, you know, orientation of the Democratic Party, that always backslides into fascism at this point, because there comes a point where conditions deteriorate to such an extent that that leadership is what backslides back into this. We just ran a test case where Joe Biden, right? Everybody, all the libs were so relieved they could breathe. You know, back at the time, you were probably relieved that Trump was gone. And now, 4 years later, here you are, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because it was back to normal.
Right.
And what did they do over these last 4 years to prevent us from dealing with what we're dealing with now?
Exactly. Right.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing. They did nothing to protect us. They did nothing to make the conditions better or easier for anybody in this country to protect us from what was coming, which is how I know that these motherfuckers don't actually believe anything they say. Because when you got clowns like Cloud Boot Jar getting on TV and being like, well, I'm just really hoping, because Democrats love to hope. They love to hope. I'm really hoping that my Republican colleagues will stand up to this. And it's like, that was your plan? Because you guys have been telling me that fascism was around the door and that Orange Hitler was knocking at the door, and that's why we needed to vote for your candidate. But now that he won, you don't have a plan? You don't have a fighting plan? Your answer is, I hope my Republican colleagues do the right thing. And Hakeem Jeffries going, what do you want us to do? That's the plan. They're like,
Right.
the funny thing is, because I keep seeing people be like, oh, it's so frustrating seeing Democrats just like not meeting the moment. It's not that they're not meeting the moment, which they're not. It's that they fundamentally don't actually oppose it. In
Right.
order to have somebody come against what is happening with Trump and the fascists and the oligarchs, you need an opposition party. And the reason why they're struggling so much is because they don't fundamentally oppose this fascist, technocratic, feudalism, oligarchic tax cuts for the rich plan. They don't actually oppose it. They just want it to be prettier. You know, they want it to be like cute, like diverse girl boss genocide and oligarchy, not like, you know, mean, like white supremacist oligarchy.
Right. Well, when you talk about the techno feudalism angle, I mean, that is super important. And what's super
Yes.
revealing also about the Democrats is that they used to have all these tech oligarchs in their pocket. Elon Musk voted for Joe Biden
Yeah.
last time. Mark Andreessen, former Democrat. Mark Zuckerberg. He just
Right.
goes, whichever way the wind blows, he just kowtows to power, no matter who.
Yeah.
Jack Dorsey, when he owned Twitter, very famously suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story right before the 2020 vote, which means he was in the tank for Democrats at a time. And now he's on his kind of red pill journey. Like these tech people, they love money, they love easy money and easy power. And they
Yeah.
will do whatever they have to do to get it. And ideally, they won't do very much. They're fundamentally very lazy. That's why you get into the business of developing apps. So you could just cash in, just basically live in your penthouse apartment in gym shorts and just make money on autopilot. And
Yeah.
so the fact that you have all these tech overlords, all of them, almost to a person, former Democrats who are now with Trump, I mean, that ought to give away the game right there.
Right. Right. But the thing that's so frustrating is that it doesn't to people.
Right,
Instead, you have people fall into their mindless partisan camps and go like,
right,
oh, well, no, like now Republicans are like, oh, billionaires bad when it's Democrats. But
right.
now billionaires good. Now they're great. Now we trust Elon Musk. We trust the plutocrat class. We trust all of them. Billionaires good now. And then you have Democrats that are like I literally, Maxine Waters said this just like a week ago on Chris Cuomo's show. Well, we oppose the billionaire takeover, but like not we don't oppose billionaires. We like the ones on our side.
Right.
Okay, so and that's what makes me so insane about the whole thing is that it's like people just get so stuck in their partisan camps. It's like, no, the tech feudalism and the billionaire takeover by the oligarch class that's happening in our government is bad, regardless of what side they're on. Their
Yes.
whole project is bad, like bad for society, bad for America, bad for the world. Like, it's just amazing what they get away with too, because it's like so I grew up Christian, and in a lot of the evangelical churches I spent time in, there was constant fear mongering about the mark of the beast. Careful, watch out for the mark of the beast. Mark of the beast. Here
Right.
comes Elon Musk being like, I want to put a chip in your brain, and a bunch of Christians are like, based.
Right. Yeah, no, it's amazing. It really is. I mean, that's a great example. No, it really is amazing. And what they are signaling is so obvious. And this is the crowd that fancies himself very red pilled when the subject of the conspiracy is the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates and interests like that. And I'm not saying to trust those figures. We certainly don't. But don't you
No.
understand this is just the other wing of that? I mean, what Elon is talking about, this is a very much you will own nothing and be happy kind of ethos. The implication is they're going to replace people with robots. This is their dream. This is what they've wanted to do. That's why on Trump's second day in office, he has Larry Ellison and Sam Altman there talking about a $500 billion AI investment. Like, do you not have your eyes open at all? Are you just so caught up in the Schadenfreude of the libs eating shit and Kamala losing and stuff, which I understand taking joy in that to a certain extent. But like, are you so blinded by that you can't see what these people are doing right in front of you? It's amazing to me.
No, it is. It is amazing. And it's frustrating because, first of all, they've employed them to just do the work of the billionaire class for them and the people that are taking over the country and want to destroy it, which is so ironic and funny almost that, like, these are the same people, the conservatives, that all love the country so much. They're such patriots, completely ignoring that the people that are at the wheel right now are the people that want to actually destroy the United States and turn it into little, network states and little fiefdoms. And the thing that makes me so crazy too is that they were like, yeah, we want to get rid of AI or these people to make it more efficient AI. And some are just coming out and saying it. And it's like, okay, how anybody could believe that their intentions are not nefarious at this point in 2025, I don't understand. I just saw a clip this morning, okay, when I was doing my morning research on like content that I was going in the news of Pierce, but do you condemn Hamas Morgan being like, oh my gosh, why would anybody not love Elon Musk out of all the things that he's done for humanity? He wants to replace things with AI and robots to make our lives easier. It's like, okay, if somebody said that in like 2006 or 8, then maybe you can get away with that.
Right.
In the year of our Lord 2025, you're really coming on and saying to people that they want to replace you with AI for your benefit, benefit. No. They want to replace you with AI. And like you said, they want you to have nothing and be happy about it. Like people, it's so frustrating to me that, and I'm highlighting the conservatives right now because they're the ones in power and they're the ones who now have all the tech billionaires on their side, that they are so often so excited about owning the libs that they have no idea that they're not seeing what is directly in front of them and what is coming for them. You think that these tech billionaires are not coming for you too? You think that those same people that that worship their wealth and hate regular working people, that they're not coming for you too? It's like Trump is just like the corporation's manager. These are the people that actually sit on the board that are making the decisions about this. And they're walking right into it. They're walking right into it. Some of them gleefully walking right into it. And I'm like, how do you not, are you so blinded by your we hate the libs shit that you can't see that these people want to destroy you too? And it makes me insane because I feel like conspiracy theorists, specifically on the right, never want to look at what's right here. Like, right. I need you guys, like conspiracy theorists on the right, the conspiracy is here. Like, it's out in the open. It's right here. I need you to come over here because you're focused on shit that either isn't real, or if it is real, it's stuff that is happening on both ends of this plane because they're two sides of the same coin. And you guys are so excited about this conspiracy over here that you're forgetting that what's happening in the open right in front of our faces is happening right now and needs your attention. Like, I just wish that sometimes the conspiracy theorists would use some of that energy on what's happening right now in front of our faces. I'm like, we could really use you guys.
Well, yeah. And look, this is the thing. Like, I consider myself somewhat of a conspiracy theorist myself. I'm not against dabbling in that. I do. And I think some of them are quite valid. But what a lot of the more right-wing and right-wing adjacent conspiracy theorists never point to is the basic dynamic of class warfare. Right? Like that ultimately, and this is what Shama said in her speech earlier, by far the most important distinction in society is between the rich and everybody else. Like, that is clearly the most important thing. And the other thing, speaking of this tech stuff, because you mentioned some of that, and I think that's really important. When we interviewed Whitney Webb recently, she made a really, really good point, which is something I had never even thought of, but it's absolutely true. She said, when they talk about making government more efficient, meaning substituting a lot of government jobs with AI algorithms, which Elon has said he wants to do, people assume that means they're making the government smaller. No, that could very well mean making the government larger. More efficient just means, fewer people to pay. Right? Exactly. Fewer buildings to rent, fewer offices to occupy, right? Fewer bodies manning the computers or pushing the pencils or whatever. That doesn't mean the government gets smaller. In fact, the government can get quite a bit larger because you have a lot of it automated. So that could really expand the scope and influence of government, not shrink it. What do you think about that?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why it's so telling that they're so focused on USAID. They're
Right.
really focused on it. They're focused on it because they can point to these things that sound like, red meat. Like, oh, they're the trans surgery in Venezuela or wherever the fuck.
Right.
But like they're looking at such a small portion of the budget. And yet they
Right.
don't want to talk about anything having to do with the like almost $1 trillion military budget that we have in the Pentagon. And then when you actually ask them about it, going kind of to what you're saying, she said, they actually will admit, if you start to ask them about it, they have absolutely no interest in cutting any money in the Pentagon. None. They want to reallocate some of it to different areas. They want to shuffle a little bit of it around. But that doesn't mean that they actually want to cut any of it. Just like they don't actually really want to downsize the scope of what the government does. It's maddening smoke and mirrors. This whole DOGE thing is maddening smoke and mirrors. They're not trying to cut down the size and the scope of government. They're trying to cut people, and they're trying to specifically cut from certain jobs, like making things more efficient, so getting rid of people, but also getting rid of people in key areas. Like they want to get rid of all these IRS agents under the guise of, oh yeah, they're going to come after regular Americans because they don't want them looking at the rich. They don't want them looking at taxing the rich or the corporations. So of course they want to get rid of all of the IRS agents, and then but don't want to get rid of any of the military contractors. None of them seem to notice the amazing giant red flag of the fact that Elon Musk is a defense contractor, one of the largest defense contractors that we have. They don't want to cut down those jobs. And then they also don't want to talk about the fact that when it comes to cutting government waste, fraud, and abuse, they're looking only to cut those things because they want to claim a win that they save money so that they can make excuses for the $4 trillion they're about to blow into the national deficit when they renew their tax cuts for the rich and corporations. Because that's coming. That is right around the corner. And they're going to lie, and they're going to go, yeah, but look at guys, we cut all this waste, fraud, and abuse.
Well, yeah. I mean, they did. We covered it in a recent segment where you had what was the guy, Michael Knowles, the guy from the Daily Wire, talk about, can you believe they spent $1 million on teaching modern art to Afghan peasants? Your money, that's where your money is going. He actually said that. He said that's where your money is going. As if $1 million is a statistically measurable portion, never mind significant. As if it will appear on a spreadsheet of, government spending in that way. That's what they want to do while they close community health centers, while they screw farmers out of contracts. This idea that it is coming, no, it has arrived. They're already seeing ordinary people feel the pain of this. Well, that's why Republicans at town halls are starting to get pushback already. There was that Republican in Georgia, right? Who got shouted down.
I enjoyed that clip so much. That was so much fun to watch. It made me think about the fact that that should be required. You should be required, if you're running as an elected official, to debate your primary opponent, because a lot of them don't. And you should be required to have town halls regularly, because that was fun. Watching that guy look genuinely surprised. He looked surprised that they were so mad.
Right.
And I was like, because these corrupt, out of touch pieces of shit spend so little time with their actual constituents that he couldn't believe that his talking point wasn't resonating with them.
Yeah. And that was a very red district too, which is also why I think he was caught off guard. All right, Blakeley, I got to move the lines here because I got my next guests in, but thank you so much for making time today. You can follow Blakeley on YouTube and on Rumble. Blakeley's Rumble channel is very important that we build that up. And you're on Instagram and TikTok, right? Because TikTok is back. Yes,
TikTok, Twitch, Twitter. Twitter is one of my favorite places just to shit post because it's not as censored, So anyway, definitely, yes, Rumble. I'm trying to build up my Rumble, especially because of what happened on YouTube. Thank you so much for having me, Keaton. It was great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to joining you on the 9th.
Pleasure. Yes, we will see you back here in 2 weeks on this channel. Thank you, Blakeley. Appreciate it.
Thank you. See you later.
Please clap.